everybody, and thank you so much for being a part of this incredible training. I wanted to thank you because you didn't have to be here, and you certainly didn't have to decide that you wanted to try to tackle this massive problem that we call climate change. But you've made that choice, so I want to thank you for that. My name is Julian Mocine-McQueen, and I wanted to take a moment to tell you my story, let you know how I got involved with this movement and involved with 350.org. So my story starts in a place called Oakland, California. Oakland is where I was born. It's a town right near San Francisco. It's a really wonderful town. It's very diverse and a lot of music and energy. But when I was younger, about 4 years old, Oakland started to experience a lot of problems. The main problem was that drugs started to really come into Oakland. And so all of the problems that surround that really took over. You had a big spike in violence. You had job opportunities leaving Oakland and people that were unemployed and struggling. So my family had a choice to make, and they chose to move me and my family to a place called Ferndale, California. And Ferndale is an awesome little town. It's known because it has more cows than people in Ferndale. It's also the home to the giant redwoods. And redwoods, if you don't know what they are, they're the largest and oldest tree in the world. They can be up to 100 meters tall, and they just will take your breath away. So that's where I grew up. And my whole life, I've spent going between Oakland and Ferndale, the city and the country, and one of our favorite parts of that was the fact that my cousins, Cedric and Charles, would always come up and visit us in the country every summer. And they would come up and we would go swimming in the river, and we would build ramps for our bikes, and we'd go climbing in the trees, and we would just show them what the country was all about, and they had so much fun. And then a couple weeks later, they would bring us down to Oakland, and we would stay with them and our uncle, and we would run around in Oakland and get to see what city life was like for a kid, and we'd be playing football in the streets. And our favorite thing was that you could actually walk to the store to buy candy and snacks. Now where we lived, you'd had to walk like 6, 7, 8 kilometers to get to the store. So this was awesome, right? So that was like a big part of my childhood, was that relationship and that back and forth and that relationship with Cedric and Charles. And when I was in high school, something happened that changed all of that forever. And what happens is that Cedric and Charles made a decision. And the decision they made was to try to rob a jewelry store. And they had guns, and they had masks, and all of that. And they tried to rob a jewelry store, and they got caught. And when they got caught, they were given a sentence of 14 years in an adult penitentiary. And they were 18 and 16 at the time, and they're still in jail. And that was really a devastating moment in my life and in their life and my whole family. That was a moment that, for me, I, for the first time, started to think about, why did that happen? And why did two kids that, in my mind, I knew were very good people and that had dreams and wanted to go to college just like me, how did they end up in that situation? And it's when I started to recognize that there were bigger problems in the world, and that there were forces acting on our communities that made it harder for people to make the right decision. And one of the things that I understood also was that that was connected to our environment, and that I was lucky enough to have a close relationship with the natural environment that I could go run around and let off steam in. They didn't have that. And there were so many other problems. And so that was a moment that I started to think about what was happening in the world and decided that I wanted to do something about it. And I've done a lot of work over the last 10 years on a number of issues. And one of the issues that I think is most important is the connection between the environment and our communities, and how we have to protect both, and how we have a role to play to look after our environment and to look after nature and also look after each other. And that's what I try to do with my work, and I'm so honored to be here with you all, because I know that you've also made that decision, that we are the people that are going to once and for all address climate change, that you are the people who are taking your weekend and investing in yourself so that you can invest in your community, so that you can fight against dirty energy, and so that you can create a future that is different. You are those people, and I'm here with you, and it's an honor to be here. And so what I want to ask of you is to not think of this like any other training or workshop, but to really recognize the skills that you're able to get and the information that you receive and the confidence and excitement that you leave with, and that you take that and you put it to work immediately. And that you don't go home and wait a couple weeks and think about it, but that you go home and you think of one thing that you can do to continue doing your work, or to start doing your work if you've not done anything to this point. This is the opportunity. You have the opportunity to become one more person who is fighting for our planet, who is fighting to ensure that we have a future and that our children have a future. And I think it's an incredible opportunity, and I know that if you're able to make those moves, if you're able to do that work, and if I'm able to continue to do this work, that we can make the change that we want to see, that we can build communities that honor and respect and love nature, and that also provide support and honor and love for everyone in a given community, and that we can build that together. But it has to start now, and it has to start with this training, and most importantly, when you leave this training. So thank you again for being a part of this. Thank you for listening to me, and have a great rest of the training.